Long before humans existed, a vast array of creatures inhabited Earth during its many eras. While numerous beasts thrived and evolved over time, one particular entity remained underdeveloped because it lacked the perfect vessel to latch onto as it searched throughout millennia. After traveling through numerous hosts, it finally reached Africa, where hunters captured its latest vessel, a leopard. The animal was transported by ship to human civilization, where it was sold as merchandise. In France, a truck drives into a plot of land, carrying cargo for circus owner Loman. Inside a trailer home, Yanka steps onto a weighing scale and records the result on a piece of paper hanging on the wall. While looking for Loman outside, the truck driver peers into the trailer and notices Yanka through one of the windows. Loman emerges from the trailer and confronts the man for spying on his wife. The circus animals begin reacting strongly to something inside the truck. Loman asks the driver what he has brought, and the man replies that it's an animal. After taking a quick look inside the cargo truck, they immediately complete a transaction. The shipment contains a new leopard for the circus's animal display. The staff excitedly welcome the new acquisition as they transfer it into a cage. Meanwhile, the truck driver continues stealing glances at Yanka as she comes out to observe the commotion outside. The driver apologizes to her for the incident earlier, then begins flirting and competing for her attention while Loman observes them from a distance. As Yanka joins her husband, the leopard starts behaving abnormally, aggressively attempting to break out of its cage. Loman instructs everyone to leave the animal alone so it can calm down. Later, the tamer tries to train 3 tigers for their upcoming performance. The animals appear restless and difficult to control. Loman arrives and admonishes Yanka for her lateness before pushing her into the performance area. The tamer soon senses that something is agitating the tigers as they pace nervously.
Up, Nessun! Up!
During practice, one of the tigers suddenly jumps over the frightened woman, causing her to flee in terror. The driver follows her outside the tent and the two share a passionate kiss behind the animal cages. When they sense Loman approaching, the driver quickly escapes, leaving Yanka in a compromising position. When her husband notices her, he slaps her across the face. That night, Yanka sleeps in bed while Loman does some bookkeeping in their trailer. He suddenly hears a disturbance outside and goes to investigate what's upsetting the animals. The circus owner encounters the woeful tamer, who informs him that the new leopard has died after something burst out from the animal's body. Upon seeing the grotesque animal remains, with the leopard's body torn open from the inside, Loman gathers his workers to search for the mysterious creature. Unbeknownst to them, the parasitic slug-like monster enters through Yanka's trailer roof, silently slithers toward the bed, and crawls into her body without waking her. Loman notices the dog barking at his trailer and returns inside. He sees Yanka sleeping peacefully on the bed, completely undisturbed and unaware of what has happened. The next day, Yanka vomits in the bathroom. She weighs herself and is startled to discover she has gained more than 4 pounds in just one day. Later, she heads to the hospital to get examined. After learning the results of her test, Yanka anxiously wanders back to the circus. She watches her husband fighting with another circus worker and caresses her womb, concerned about the future. Fearing for her child's safety, Yanka packs her clothes, steals Loman's money from his lockbox, and hurries away to catch a train. Days later, a cab driver tells Loman about a woman he dropped off in the sketchy part of town. The driver recalls how unstable she appeared and how she was muttering to herself as though arguing with an invisible person. After the taxi drops him off, Loman enters the destitute building searching for his wife. On the upper floor, the man finds Yanka in her red robe. He hugs and kisses his wife, begging her to come home. Unknown to him, Yanka is holding a kitchen knife behind her back. Suddenly, the woman stabs him in the abdomen, and Loman collapses to the ground. Acting unstable, she wonders what she should do next. She raises her knife above Loman, poised to slay him, but then begs someone not to make her do it. Unable to complete the act, the woman throws the knife away and moves away from her husband. Loman grabs her robe, and the now uncovered Yanka runs away screaming in terror. Yanka begins talking to herself, and a demonic voice from the woman's womb responds, taunting her to kill her husband. The following day, Yanka wakes up and drinks water from the rain leaking through the ceiling. The woman approaches Loman's body and retrieves her red robe. Suddenly, the voice speaks again, declaring its hunger for Loman's blood. Yanka immediately clutches her stomach, aware that it's her child's voice. The creature explains to its mother that it needs to feed in order to grow, but Yanka is reluctant to comply with this monstrous request. However, it threatens to burst out of her body painfully if she doesn't feed it, just as it did with the leopard. Yanka takes a fork and attempts to stab her belly, but the beast hurts her from within.
Take the knife.
As she crawls toward Loman's body, the woman falls to the ground and vomits blood. The excruciating pain forces Yanka to cut up her deceased husband and drink his blood to satisfy the monster growing inside her. That night, Yanka awakens to the sound of chaos in the building. Her child immediately warns her of the danger, and she quickly flees the building. In an alley, the creature instructs her to cut a beggar's throat to obtain more blood. Yanka slowly picks up a broken bottle and creeps toward the unsuspecting man sleeping among garbage bags. But determined to resist the creature's commands, she walks toward the river and jumps in to drown herself. Under the water, the baby frantically begs Yanka to save herself, promising never to hurt her again. Something in its terrified plea makes Yanka swim back to the surface, gasping for air.
Go back up.
Later, Yanka sits beside the river wrapped in a thick blanket. Her child apologizes and tries to convince her it isn't a monster by claiming it thinks and speaks like a human. A truck passes by, and the driver offers Yanka a ride. During the journey, the man begins telling the uninterested Yanka his life story. When they stop at a gas station, the driver tells her to change her clothes inside while he fills up the truck. However, the man only wants to get her out of the vehicle because he has already convinced 2 other women to ride in his truck instead. He abandons Yanka at the gas station, and her child remarks about how cruel the world of man can be. 2 months later, a man named Richard enters a restaurant and gets in line. Upon reaching the cashier, he starts begging his angry girlfriend Rosette for forgiveness for his infidelity. After charming the female cashier, Richard asks for money and receives his lunch free of charge. While sitting at one of the tables, he catches a glimpse of the beautiful Yanka who works bussing tables in the restaurant. Later, Yanka goes downstairs to the storage area with Richard following her. Unable to see in the dark, he trips and falls to the ground, screaming. Rosette hears the noise and asks what he's doing in the empty dining area downstairs. Richard lies, claiming he was looking for the bathroom. When the couple leaves, Yanka and the creature express their disappointment at missing the opportunity to feed on the clueless man.
I'm so disappointed.
Later, Rosette waits outside the restaurant for her boyfriend to pick her up from work when she notices a bloody napkin on the ground where Yanka had been sweeping earlier. This makes her suspicious of the beautiful busser. Meanwhile, the creature tells Yanka to find their next victim at a nearby restaurant where fewer people would notice what happens. Richard soon arrives and joins Yanka at a table in the quiet restaurant. Her child notes how easy it is to lure human men with just a smile. During the meal, Richard's non-stop talking about himself bores both Yanka and the creature. He shows her a picture of himself when he worked as a circus clown and asks if she's accomplished anything noteworthy in her life. Yanka tears up and despondently says she's done nothing significant at all. After they leave the restaurant, Richard walks Yanka home to her small apartment. He tries to persuade her to let him come inside, but she refuses, claiming she feels ill. The next day, Rosette tries calling Richard repeatedly, but he doesn't answer any of her calls. She begins to suspect Yanka as she watches the woman descend the stairs into the empty dining area, acting secretively. That night, Yanka roams the streets and spots a potential victim, a well-dressed man walking alone. She follows him into a building, and the man turns around, asking why she's been following him.
Why do you like to follow men?
The beguiled man makes out with Yanka just before she stabs his neck with a blade she had hidden. When people suddenly come out of a nearby door and might discover what happened, Yanka kisses the dying man on the lips to make it look like they're just having a passionate embrace. She runs away to avoid getting caught, and the man perishes alone. When Yanka reaches her apartment, she finds Richard waiting for her by the stairs. They then spend the night making love together. The next morning, Yanka wakes up and takes a cigarette from Richard's pocket. The creature admonishes her for smoking while pregnant and orders her to stop immediately. Yanka, fed up with the beast's control over her body, threatens to stab her stomach with a pair of scissors.
And an even bigger slob.
Hearing her angry screeches, Richard enters the kitchen, interrupting her behavior. He expresses his desire for their relationship to continue and even wishes to marry and raise a family with her, unaware of her condition. Yanka stabs the poor man in the stomach as he screams in agony. Suddenly, Rosette knocks on Yanka's door, demanding to see her cheating lover. After Yanka opens the door, Rosette enters the pitch-black kitchen. In a panic, Yanka locks her in the room and escapes the building. Rosette bangs on the door, begging to be let out. Unexpectedly, the refrigerator door opens, casting a dim light across the room, and Richard, gasping his last breath, begs her for help. The terrifying sight compels Rosette to scream in fear. 6 months later, a man hails a taxicab driven by Yanka, who now has a very pregnant belly. He instructs her to turn right, but she ignores him, determined to chase her target, a jogger running along the side of the road. The passenger demands that the woman let him out, but Yanka elbows him in the face to subdue him. She sideswipes the jogger, corners him against a wall, and then violently crashes into him with the car. Getting out of the vehicle despite her advanced pregnancy, Yanka uses a heavy metal tool to strike the victim's neck, decapitating him with several powerful blows. When her passenger regains consciousness and witnesses the horrific scene through the windshield, he tries to escape in panic. As he runs into the street without looking, he gets hit by an oncoming truck that cannot stop in time. The passenger dies instantly, providing Yanka with another body to feed on. After some time passes, the creature asks its mother if she has developed any affection for it, to which the woman admits she has formed some maternal feelings. However, her fear of its monstrous nature and her dreams of its horrifying birth prevent her from fully accepting the child as her own. One day, Yanka's car breaks down on a rural road, with smoke rising from under the hood. A helpful mechanic who happens to be passing by offers to fix her vehicle. As he's examining the engine, Yanka suddenly vomits blood violently, frightening the mechanic who believes something is seriously wrong with her. Seeing how pregnant she is and the amount of blood, he assumes she's having complications and flags down a passing taxi. He asks the driver to take her to the nearest hospital immediately. Though Yanka protests that she doesn't want to go to the hospital, the mechanic assures her she'll be there soon. As they drive, Yanka grabs the driver's arm, causing him to lose control of the steering wheel. The car crashes violently into a wall.
Dude, let go!
Yanka manages to escape but faints from exhaustion a short distance away. Later, she awakens on a couch with a kind older woman tending to her. However, Yanka uses a telephone cord to strangle the woman before escaping through the window. Crying, she asks the creature what's happening to her body. It explains that she will soon give birth, much sooner than a normal human pregnancy. The creature explains that after birth, it wants to return to the sea, where it originated from thousands of years ago. It will continue to develop in the ocean for millennia until it reaches a form capable of ruling Earth. To complete its manifestation properly, the child needs more blood before birth and urges its mother to rob a blood transfusion bus that it can sense nearby. Using a toy gun, Yanka successfully threatens everyone except one man to leave the bus, including doctors and donors. She grabs the blood bags and swallows them, feeding the hungry beast inside her. Yanka steals the bus and drives toward the sea with her child directing her where to go. While she's driving, the weakened man at the back of the bus creeps up and grabs her, causing the vehicle to crash. An ambulance soon arrives and rescues Yanka, but the man on the bus perishes. The medic tries to resuscitate the woman with CPR but finally stops when he's unable to detect a pulse. As her body grows cold, the creature forces Yanka's heart to start beating again, awakening the pregnant woman. She attacks the medic by pressurizing him with gas, which causes his body to explode inside the ambulance. When the driver hears the commotion and stops to investigate, Yanka hits him in the face with an oxygen tank. Suddenly, she goes into labor as her abdomen contracts painfully. After struggling to push the baby out, Yanka finally gives birth to what appears to be a human infant. Later, she robs a man who had stopped to consult a road map of his minivan. While driving toward the coast, she tries to ask her child what to do next, but discovers it can't communicate with her as it did before birth. During their journey, the car develops engine problems, so Yanka stops at a gas station. Leaving the baby alone in the car, Yanka goes inside to seek help. A passing traveler hears the infant crying and approaches the vehicle out of concern. As he gets closer to the car, he can see the baby through the window. Suddenly, the creature grabs the traveler and pulls him into the car to devour him. Hearing his screams, Yanka immediately returns but only finds the dead man and the creature's discarded human skin. Yanka discovers a trail of blood leading to a bus carrying soccer players. She asks the driver for a ride so she can secretly search for the monster. Later, one of the players wakes up, spots Yanka, and promptly alerts the others. The men harass and inappropriately touch her while she desperately tries to warn them about the dangerous creature. Unknown to the passengers, the beast sneaks up on and attacks the driver. As the man loses control of the bus, Yanka breaks free from the men's grasp and sprints to take over the steering wheel. One of the players then screams in terror after noticing the repulsive thing attached to the driver's head. He rushes to the back of the vehicle, alarming the other passengers with his panicked description of what he saw. Seeing the creature's final form and understanding the potential harm it might bring to the world, Yanka decides to let go of the wheel and accept her fate. The bus hits a road sign and explodes in a massive fireball. The next day, the creature, having survived the bus catastrophe, finally finds its way back to the sea. As the creature slithers into the ocean depths, it leaves behind the human world it briefly inhabited. The ancient entity, finally free from its human host, will spend millennia developing in its natural environment until it reaches its ultimate form. Meanwhile, the world continues unaware of the horror that briefly visited and the sacrifices made to delay its conquest of Earth. In the small coastal town, authorities investigate the bus explosion, finding no explanation for the tragedy that claimed so many lives, including the mysterious woman who was seen boarding just before the accident.